Hey Felipe and everybody at Drago Drums. My name is Larson and today I'm going to talk to you about flams and double stops and how we can use those to make some different sounds on the drum set. So first let's talk about what double stops are. Double stops are super easy. It's both hands at the same time. You can also hear this referred to as a flat flam, although usually then it's not meant in a good way. So what I'm doing is hitting both sticks at the same time, trying to make them sound like one note. Flams, on the other hand, are a low note, a grace note, and a primary note, and the low note should hit just before the primary note. They should almost overlap, which is a weird thing to say for drums because the sound is so short. Right, hear that? It's kind of one sound, but the sound is thicker than when it's flat. So the first thing to do is just work on being able to play double stops. Nice and slow. And then also pretty quickly. And then the same thing with flams. The important thing when you're working on flams, you want to keep the grace note down and have your primary stroke exaggerated, right? You want to work on a full range of motion because as we speed up, you're not going to be able to keep that primary note so high. So you're really going to need your grace note down to make a flam clear at a higher tempo, okay? Right? So flam, prepare, flam, prepare, flam, prepare. So each flam gets an extra beat. Let's put on a metronome. 3, 4. Flam, prepare, flam, prepare, flam, prepare, flam, prepare, flam, prepare, flam, prepare. And by doing it that way, you kind of force yourself to get in the proper position, right? And then as it gets faster, so if I play flams as eighth notes now at 140, that was just 80, and I was playing them as quarter notes. So here if I play them as eighth notes, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. Because I've worked with that exaggerated motion, I can still have the clear separation of which is a right flam, which is a left flam. And there it helps if you can let your hands loosen up a little bit. There's a pretty cool trick you can do switching between alternating flams and Swiss Army triplets and double stroke rolls, right? Swiss Army triplets, double stroke roll, back to Swiss Army triplets, and alternating flams again. So, what's the point? What are we going to do with these things? Well, we're going to move them onto the drums, and we're going to talk about alternating flams and continuing double stops. So one of the best ways to work on double stops is just like I did earlier, right? Just play that as much as you can. Alternating flams, sure, you can do this. There's two rudiments that I like a lot to practice for this. One is the patafla-fla, which is a flam, and then a single, and then a single, and then a flam. So right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And work on them starting with your left hand too. Left, right, left, right. And then the other one is a more modern hybrid rudiment called the cha-cha-cha, and it is flam, tap, flam, flam, tap, flam. And that one's cool because it alternates all by itself. The patafla-fla is in group of 4, so 16th notes, that kind of thing. The cha-cha-cha is triplets, right? So now we've got groups of 3, groups of 4s and 3s. Let me jump back a few feet and put them on the drums, and we can see how these things will work in the real world. Okay, so here we are in the drum set. So we've got our double stops, our flams, our cha-cha-chas, and our patafla-flas. And there's a ton of different other ways to do flams alternating as well. I just wanted to focus on those 2 patterns just to kind of keep us from going overboard. A thing that a lot of people will do when they play flam patterns on the drum set is to just flatten out the flams naturally. So instead of playing a patafla-fla like this, they're going to play it more like this. Okay. There's something to be said for that. It means that when you're playing 2 different drums, so if I play my snare drum and one of my toms, have that double stop. And that's cool, but I find when I do the flam rudiments, I kind of like to have that little bit of separation to thicken up the sound, right? So patafla-fla as written. Sometimes you'll make the flams even wider, so the first note is even farther apart from the primary note. Same thing with the cha-cha-chas. Whereas playing it flat, you'll get. So let's see how these might work in some musical context. Okay, so I have a lot of drums. I like to play melodically. But I don't even have to. I'm going to use just a floor tom and 1 rack tom. So to show you how this can work even on a small set, because then I've got a low and a high, and I've got my snare. So I'm just going to play patafla-flas and move the primary notes to the 2 toms. So that's one way. Let's try it with cha-cha-chas. I can start to hear patterns I can play with that, right? That reminds me of that dum da dum da dum da dum da da ba da ba ba da ba ba da ba da ba. But a thing I like to do even more sometimes is to do continuous flams with the same hand, which drift into double stops sometimes. That's why I haven't mentioned them until now. They're kind of a special case for me. They're super simple. You just take that flam we were talking about on the drum pad, and instead of alternating, you just keep one hand high and one hand low. It's really easy to turn that into. So now I'm going to do a couple other flam rudiments. Let's talk about flam drags. So there's two different ways to articulate flam drags. One is as a triplet. And one is much more clearly as a 32nd note. So now putting kind of all this stuff together, here's one of my favorite patterns that I play a lot. It's going to have some flam drags and some double stops. So let me break down a couple things that I was doing there that we haven't talked about. How about a double stop? That's half in the middle. So I'm going to keep my left hand playing a series of notes. And with my right hand, I'm going to play half that fast. So if I'm thinking 16th notes with my left hand, I'm going to play 8th notes with my right hand, and I'm going to move around the toms melodically. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So how about if I make the right hand a little bit freer to play 16th notes, so to double all the notes with the left hand, or to play quarter notes or some other rhythms. So I'm going to do that same thing, left hand kind of chugging out 16th notes, and right hand is going to freely move around the toms, and let's try and think melodically, right? Okay, so that's pretty much the concept for today. So we've got double stops, we've got alternating flams, We've got pataflaflas and cha-cha-chas, which are going to help us work on those alternating flams. Then we've got the other flam rudiments that we can throw in, flam drags, flam accues, any of those flam patterns, flam accents, any of those flam patterns are going to work with this kind of orchestrating around the drum set thing. To say nothing of that very just basic double stops, right? So so you've got all this freedom to play melodically. And again, I'm going to play two little solos utilizing the patterns we've talked about. The first one I'm going to play just on two toms and the snare drum. Okay, so you can see that this works really well with a high pitch and a low pitch. Okay, but then I'm going to spread it out, and you can see why I insist on playing so many drums because it is super fun to be able to play a really big melody like this, right? So, first on just the two toms and the snare. And now the whole Megillah. All right, so once again, my name is Penny Larson. I really want to thank Felipe for having me on Drago Drums. Felipe is a great guy, and this was really fun. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, it's Facebook Penny Larson Drums, Instagram Penny Larson Drums, and on YouTube just Penny Larson. Thanks, and good luck. And why don't y'all show me and Felipe what you got cooking? I'd love to see some lessons from y'all. All right, thanks. Take it easy.